Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today I'm going to be playing Battle of the Bulge. It's a new game just out by Shenandoah Studio. Actually, well, it's not totally new. So the game came out on iPad, I think like 2 or 3 years ago, but they've kind of refined the game, they've republished it, and now it's actually out on PC as well. It is now published by Matrix and Slitherine Games, and they were kind enough to give me a copy, so I figured I'd go ahead and kind of take an initial impressions look at this game. I've never played it before. Shenandoah Studio has a great reputation in the wargaming industry as a studio that makes pretty easy, simple to get into, but still rewarding games to play. A lot of their games are kind of modeled after a board game approach, so it'll be interesting to take a look. Again, I haven't played any Shenandoah Studios games before, so this is really a first look at their style of gameplay. First of all, here's the main menu. Again, this is built off an iPad game, but released on PC. You've got a couple of different options here. You've got a basics option, which basically just kind of gives you some key points on how to play the game. You obviously have a tutorial, which will walk you through playing the game. There's a help section, which essentially acts like an on-game menu. Credits need no explanation there. There's a really surprisingly deep history section here, where it kind of gives you an overview of just the whole Battle of the Bulge, because again, this game is looking at the Battle of the Bulge, so you've got kind of strategic background, what the Axis plan was, their preparations, kind of the famous commandos that dropped in behind Allied lines, questions on whether the, sort of a short analysis of the actual battle and its result, and even a day-by-day kind of explanation of the battle as it took place over those 12 days or so here, and just kind of talks again about the battle as it unfolded. And it's even got kind of a glossary that goes through all the equipment, the vehicles, the guns, gives a little bit of write-up of the different famous pieces of equipment and generals who were involved in the game. So it's a surprisingly deep kind of historical key. It kind of reminds me of the old Civil War Generals game, where on the disc they even had like their own little history book about the whole American Civil War. Not quite that deep, but still that nice little immersion factor. If you want to learn more about the battle, definitely an education piece. The game does come with that. Now, the game just was released on Steam. As I said, the game is a re-release. It came out on Steam yesterday. I think it's only like $8, so it's definitely something I think that is at an appealing price point. But let's go ahead and take a look at the game. When we choose play, we have the option of playing against a computer opponent. We can play a hot seat, or we can play multiplayer, so like a play by email with an opponent. In this case, we're going to go ahead and play a new computer opponent. And then we've got several scenarios we can choose from. Not a ton, but there's a few. There's a race to the Meuse. So basically you have 3 days to get to the Meuse River, which was one of the initial objectives of the German forces. Then you've got the whole historic Battle of the Bulge from start to finish. The end game, so Bastogne is surrounded. Can it hold? Basically, you just fight the engagement of the Battle of Bastogne, where the Allied 101st Airborne was surrounded as the German advance raced past them, and kind of you play and see if you can change the course of history. The city did actually hold. Luck of the draw, so units are shuffled into historical starting locations. Basically, it's just kind of a randomization, I assume, of the different units, moving things from where they were historically, and then the bitter end, the historical battle always lasting to December 28th. So basically, I guess the whole battle, regardless of how you do. We're going to play the Race to the Meuse, which is kind of like an introductory short-term scenario. And again, you can play as either the Allies or the Axis. In here, you also have different options of, I assume this is difficulty. It says you choose the opponent personality, but I'm going to guess it's, easy, medium, hard. Probably just because hard would be Patton would be ultra aggressive. Bradley's kind of a middle-of-the-road guy, and then Monty is the more cautious. I don't think that's intended as a slight against Monty. It just means that he tended to act more slowly, and when you're on the offensive, that's a little bit easier to deal with. Maybe you won't be quite as successful in your attacks, but at the very least you won't get surprised and totally destroyed. And then you've got a similar breakdown for the Germans as well. Again, it influences the personality of the player you're playing against, or so it says, but I assume a large part of it is just kind of a difficulty level thing. So let's go ahead and jump in and play. Okay, so when you enter in the scenario, you can see here we're starting on December 16th, 1944. You get a brief map, and it's showing your objectives. So right here's Bastogne, and then again you want to race to the Meuse, so you kind of have 2 different objectives. You must reach the Meuse River within 3 days. A unit must be adjacent to the Meuse and able to trace path of friendly spaces to the east edge of the map by the end of the third day, by the end of December 18th. You also win a draw instead if you capture the crossroads at Bastogne. So if you just capture Bastogne, but you don't get to the river, then you win a draw. In addition to that, you get a little bonus. It's a surprise attack here. You can see you get you can activate 3 spaces in a row, all before the allies can move. Meanwhile, there's a little supply map. It'll show you kind of the supply routes to your forces. In this case, everything starts fine because, again, you start right there. Axis artillery. The Axis has strong artillery but no fuel to reposition it. Axis artillery strengthens. Axis attacks but only in the indicated spaces. So in these spaces, when you attack, you get a bonus on your attack. And then a history, which just kind of goes back into that history tab where it gives you a scenario or a description of the day that you're fighting. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump in. Now, I've really only read through a little bit of the basic starting points for the game. I'm not an expert in this game by any means, but I've read through some of kind of the intro, if you will. So as you can see here, we've got a basic map. It's a lot like a board game. You can zoom in and out a little bit, but there's not a ton of real estate to move around here. The Meuse River kind of traces along this western part on the map, this big objective. Obviously, it's closer to us if we go toward Liege. That's our objective points to get here. We can win a draw if we take Bastogne, which is kind of here in the middle of the map. And you can see here there are allied units spread throughout. You can also left click to drag yourself around on the map, but for this scenario the map is pretty small, so there's not a ton of value in doing that. Units are represented with their strength by these little white squares. So, you know, the more white squares, the more hit points essentially it can take. The stronger the unit is, the better its combat value. So, you know, the more of these you face, the worse your odds. You can also see when you click on a hex, if you click on the down arrow, it'll give you kind of a breakdown of the potential combat. I think there's also a way... There's another way you can get different... Okay, so if you click on here, where the plus symbol is, it'll give you a breakdown of the different combat bonuses or alterations. So if you're fighting in a plane, this may not show much, but again, if you click on the combat preview, it'll give you a breakdown on the strength of the actual engagement. So you can see here the Axis have 6 combat power, the Allies have 1. There's a few different perks that'll influence the combat. So you can see here, this little shield here means they're elite infantry, and this little tree here means they're in woods, so they get kind of a defense bonus. Meanwhile, the Germans get this explosion symbol, which represents artillery support, and also a surprise attack, which gives them their own bonuses. The wider these little lines are, represent the likelihood of what's happening. So the likelihood of the Axis taking a hit, this wide 0 is pretty high. If they do take a hit, they're only going to take 1. Meanwhile, the Allies have a very small likelihood of taking 0. A medium kind of likelihood, this white R represents retreating, and then 2, 3, or 4 represent the different likelihoods of the hits they take. All they have to do is take 1 hit, though, and they'll be destroyed because of the fact that they only have 1 combat power. Anyway, that's not what I wanted to do. You have a limit of 1 hex that you can activate and use an attack from per turn. So basically, if you want to use a hex, what you can do is you go ahead and you click on the unit, and then you tell it where you want to move. And then this unit is the only unit which I can move units out of. But now that it's in this hex, I can go ahead and, if I want, I can go ahead and commit it to battle. Now, because it's a surprise attack, because it's the first turn, I do have the advantage of doing that in up to three times here on that first turn, but I can only do 1 attack at a time. So it kind of represents the limited resources that you have, and also the limited amount of time that you have at your disposal. So if you want to undo a unit, you right-click. If you select a unit, you left-click. So left-click to select, right-click to undo, and that's about where it is. Now, we can't move our armored units here on the first turn during the surprise attack. That little red circle with a line through it represents your limitation as far as using it, I suppose. And we can only attack from 3 hexes in this first turn. So I think trying to decide what I want to do here. I've got 3 units that are already in hexes with allied units to begin with. So I think what I'm going to do, there's no sense moving a 4th because we can't really do anything with that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move these infantry up here to Clairvaux, because then next turn I can move this armor here and then drive toward Lunage and get toward Bastogne. So this gives me an 8-to-1 combat power. You can see there's a very small likelihood that they take no damage here. So we should destroy this allied unit, which only has 1 combat power, and again has a very tiny sliver of green where they won't take any hits. So again, we've got these 2 units in this hex near Clairvaux, and then we can go ahead and hit commit for the combat to resolve itself. Kind of see the units are fighting through, and they took 3 hits, and they gave no damage to us. So we went ahead and we destroyed that unit. We used one of our 3 pre-dawn surprise attack turns, and this hex turns blue, which means it has been taken over by the Axis. So that's where we are. Meanwhile, we've got 2 more turns we can use, but again, all we can move is infantry, so keep that in mind. I think we're going to use Belef, because again, that's another place we've got a 7-to-1 advantage and a very small likelihood of taking no damage, so almost a certainty of attack. It also is adjacent to our province of Clairvaux, and will support us driving on St. Vith, and again, to the north toward Liege. My objective here is to kind of swing in south and cut the Allied forces in 2 to get to Liege, while perhaps also stretching out and getting Bastogne. But the main objective is moving toward Liege and the Meuse River. So we need to take out this unit here. It also gets our armored unit advancing. I don't want to just waste this unit for another turn where it has to attack before it can move. So we'll go ahead and do that. We'll go ahead and commit to the defensive. And you can see here we've gone ahead and we've destroyed the enemy. They took 2 damage. They only needed to take 1 to be defeated, and they were. So that was our second pre-dawn attack. We went ahead and took this province, so St. Vith is now open for us to swing in and advance on St. Vith. Let's see here. I don't know if I want to take Schnauber. I've got some units in there as well. But we've only got a 4-to-3 advantage, and you can see in this case, there's a pretty good likelihood the Allies only take 0 damage. And even if they take 1 or 2, they won't be destroyed because they've got 3 combat power here with 106th Infantry Division. So I think rather than doing that, because this unit, frankly, is at risk of being surrounded anyway, I think instead of doing that, I'm going to fight the battle at Lochum, where you can see here we've got a substantial advantage already. But what I'm also going to do is I'm going to move this 62nd. I can't move them. Shucks. I was going to move them here because, again, you can activate 1 hex per turn. So my thought was we can activate that hex and get everyone... Can I do this? Yeah, I can't do that. Okay. So you can only activate 1 hex, which means you can only move units from 1 hex and fight with units from that 1 hex. Now, if units from 2 different directions combine in 1 hex, you can still fight, but you can only move units from 1 hex to another, once per turn. Anyway, that is enough weird talking about hexes. So there we go. We're going to go ahead and attempt to take Lochum. Again, you can see here a small possibility of 0. Fairly good likelihood of retreating or just destroying them. Because again, they only have 1 combat power. I believe it's a cavalry reconnaissance unit there. It's not a tank unit. And holy cow, we obliterated them. 4 damage, and there goes our 3 pre-dawn surprise attacks. We took Lochum, so we've won the 3 battles that we fought. And you can see here the Allies move 1 unit, it's an armor unit, and they're retreating toward Longvilly, trying to perhaps get between us and Bastogne. Now that we're into an actual main turn, again, we can only move from 1 hex per turn. So, I'm thinking we're going to keep these troops here in Lochum, and then we're just going to kind of... I want to get... These are really powerful armor units. I want to get them involved. But I'm not sure what the best way is to do it. It almost seems like a distraction to move these units here. First SS is so strong. Hands are there. If I do that, then I can't. This is where it really gets tricky. You've got to really, think what you're doing through before you go ahead and do it. I don't want to waste the Panzerlehr Division or the 1st SS Panzer Division, which are both incredibly strong. I also don't want to leave these Allied troops in my rear. Well, this red circle means they can't advance, so if I do leave Stadt to Kill unoccupied, it won't hurt me. And again, units move faster along roads. So we're going to do this. We're going to move these guys in here. We're going to have a massive combat advantage. We should be able to destroy the 106 here. Or at least severely damage them. There we go, 3, so they're destroyed. Alright. Without losing any hits, you can see that used our turn, but we did destroy that allied unit there. The 99th is still stuck in place. And the other reason that I did that is because you can choose to attack from one turn. I've got all 3 of these in the same hex, so I can move them all simultaneously in a future turn, although because they've already attacked this, last turn, they are stuck in place. They turn kind of a shaded color. Okay. I think the next step is probably to move this armor unit to Vilsum, and we can move this infantry unit, again, because they're in the same hex. Even though they're moving into 2 different provinces and taking 2 different provinces or hexes, they are allowed to do that. So we move the 116th Panzer forward toward Vilsum, and we move the 560th Volksgrenadier, VG, I believe is what it stands for, into St. Vith, and drive a dagger between these allied forces here. So that's our turn. See what the allies do here. They're continuing to fall back toward Bastogne, probably not wanting to get cut off. Maps like these roads here, these symbols, when you move along from hexes that have road connections, you move more effectively, so that's another thing you want to keep in mind. We're going to move the Lair Division. Where do I want to move that? I want to get them toward the front, and these guys are locked in place. My goal is to get as many of these things in the same hex as possible. But again, I kind of feel like we're losing focus here. So I think what might work move the 12th SS Panzer here. I don't think this unit can attack because it's got a red circle, so that cavalry unit isn't going to do much good. We've got a more than 2-to-1 advantage. We may not destroy them, but we should at least damage the 99th. Again, it's telling us we have units that haven't moved. That would be this one Volksgrenadier unit, which I left behind, which I'm fine with leaving behind. And you can see here we inflicted 2 losses on the 99th. They're down to 1 strength, and we forced him to retreat. So again, trying to keep your forces concentrated is an important factor in this game. As one thing that you have a tendency to see happen is you kind of get strung out as the battle progresses, where you've got your troops kind of in multiple different hexes, and again, because of the restrictions on what you can attack with for each turn, 1 hex per turn essentially, that really can limit what you can do and how effective you can be. So again, moving like, for example, the 2nd Panzer here allows us to have a very strong force that then we could move forward and attack Longueuil and hopefully destroy that allied unit next turn. We're still on the 16th of December. You can see here it's given us different amounts of time during the day that are passing. And right now, we've already attacked with a lot of our units, so it's more just getting troops concentrated and in the right places. And again, I'm moving my armor forward. So the first day is almost done here. And since this 4th infantry is actually locked in place for the first day, I'm thinking maybe we'll concentrate in a... Well, I don't know. I don't want to leave my flank open. The important thing, too, is as you advance, you need to protect your supply lines, because if the enemy does cut you off, that will cut your supply lines off. Move these guys in with the Panzer there. And since we can use the same hex, I can move the Fallschheimers for de Malmedy. And that's actually an important thing to do here in this case, because you can see there's some good road links. Malmedy links these kind of allied forces in the north, and it's going to make it a little bit more difficult for them to withdraw. So I'm going to go ahead and move them. We'll take Malmedy. That allows us to advance one hex closer to Liege, while it also allows us to concentrate more forces in here with the Panzer Lehr, and kind of keep our stacks concentrated. You can see there, that's the end of the turn. So it is now December 17th. We can choose a Commando Attack. So, Axis Commandos disrupt American communications. Select any one allied unit, and it will be sabotaged and unable to move today. So we can pick one unit. Now all these allied units are unlocked, but we can pick one unit that we want to force to stay in place so they can't move. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick this allied armor unit up here in the north. It looks like their strongest and probably their best unit, either that or the 1st Infantry Division. Or maybe the 10th Armor here in the south. What should I do? Either the 10th Armor in the south or the 7th Armor in the north. I feel a little bit weaker in the north. Of course, the 2nd Infantry can launch an attack against Gumund. Well, I think that's less likely, so we're going to pick the 7th Armor. And we'll sabotage it. So, Axis Commandos disrupt the 7th Armored Division in pre-dawn operations. Perfect. Okay, so now we are moving on. Deciding what I want to do here on the first attack of the day. These guys are going to kind of act as a reserve all together here in the rear. I don't think that's what I want to move first. Tell me what to do. I don't know. Well, again, our objective is to reach the Meuse. So, what's the best way to do that? I can kind of threaten to cut these guys off. I could drive my armor unit here, get these 2 infantries in with Velsum, but there's nothing adjacent to it. That's the problem. It'd be better to be in Lulunge. I could attack Bastogne with this 1 armored unit, but I don't think that's wise. Or I could attempt to overwhelm these troops in the north, but again, that opens up our flank here to the troops at Menchau. Or however you pronounce that. We did disable this unit up in the north, the 7th Armored, so we might as well take advantage of that. I'm just not sure how I want to do that. I'm thinking what I'll do is I'll move the armor here to Elsborn to prepare for an attack next turn. And because I'm moving that, it also lets me move these infantry units here. So more just moving into place, more than anything here. For an attack up north later. You know, the 10th Armor races to Bastogne and reinforces them. They've got a whole bunch of armored units in Bastogne. And because that unit moved last turn, it doesn't look like we can move them again. Yep, can't do that. Okay. So, Let's see. I think we really kind of have to defend our supply line. I think we have to move south with these guys to Vidian. I want to try and take Longueuil and attack this armor unit. But again, we really need to try and protect our supply line. So, I guess that's what we'll do. But I guess I don't know how it... I'm not sure how it'll influence our drive toward Liege and along the Meuse, because that's really got to be our main effort. So instead... what I'll do is I'll move these guys. Again, it's more preparatory than anything, but at least I can keep these troops all concentrated. So that when I am ready for an attack, I can attack with multiple units all at once. So we moved out of St. Vith. You can see here the Allies are pulling back the 4th Infantry. So they are repositioning some of their troops as well to get stronger. But the nice side effect of that is now there's not this unit here in our rear that we have to worry about. Let's see. Again, I'm not going to launch an attack with any of these because these have half their units that are all moved together that can't attack. Could do this. Wait. Why can they move to Longueuil? No one else apparently can. Okay. Well, we might as well attack Vidian. At least it shores up our flank. Leave the false hammers behind. Hopefully this is strong enough to protect our flank. Actually, it should be, because this unit can't move next turn. So go ahead and fight. Oh, we took a hit. Totally obliterated. Okay. So we took Vidian, and again you can see because this is an armored unit and it won a battle, it can advance another hex. That doesn't really do me any good. I'd rather keep these guys concentrated, so we'll do that for now. No. Okay. Okay. So the Allies are moving the 1st Infantry. It looks like they can move 2 hexes. They've got some pretty darn good movement here. Meanwhile, we can't do much of anything. Oh, well, that is tempting. What if we do this? What are the combat benefits here? 7 to 2. Small chance of 0. Very high likelihood of retreat, 3 or 4. Meanwhile, it would leave the 1st Panzer alone back in the rear, but that would really kind of isolate and prevent the 2nd from attacking. It would protect the flank, and it would allow us to advance, possibly destroy 2 units, at the very least push them back, and move closer to Liege. I think that's our best attack option, despite the fact that it does disperse us a bit, which I'm not a huge fan of. I do think it is our best option, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so we destroyed one of the units, and we forced the other to retreat, so I'd consider that a successful attack there. Pinning the 7th Armor up there really helped, because it made them more or less unable to reinforce those other guys. That could have really changed things. Looks like the Trost Points is the Allies are concentrating some forces up north here to withstand our advance. We've cut the 2nd off, I believe, supply-wise. Maybe not. Maybe there's supply that comes from the north, because I guess technically off-map they wouldn't be out of supply. Yeah, and then we'll move these guys to Vidian, because there's no troops that we have to worry about in the south, so then we can have a really... Oh. I was going to say that we can have a really strong attack, but I guess... Toward Longueuil. I'll just move some troops around. See what the Allies do this turn. Pull some armor back to Bastogne. So this day's going pretty slow, which I'm okay with. It's allowing us to kind of reposition our forces. I'd like to be able to move the Panzer Layer. I wish I could concentrate my forces for a major attack. Could move the... I can't move them this way? Oh, there's no road between these two towns. That's lame. There's a nice road to Malmedy. Okay, so the second day is dragging out a bit. So it doesn't look like the Allies moved at all. The nice thing is, I think because they've all moved, I could try and surround them if the day lasts long enough, but I'm not super confident in that strategy. I think I'll move. Right away. Shucks. I could move them in behind, but then they'd risk getting cut off. So this game is definitely... Why can't I move them south? Why can't they move here? I don't see a good reason for that right now. And I can't move these guys north to Malmedy. I can't move these guys south. I don't want to move these because then it'll let the enemy move in and take Gaumont, although I'm not sure if it really matters. In fact, I don't think it would. Well, it might. No, it wouldn't. Okay, so it's dusk. It is now the 18th. It is our last day to try and drive on Liege. So now is the day that we need to launch a whole bunch of offensives. So the first one has to be here. I can't... No! Why can't I do that? So I guess the rivers make it more difficult to do that than I want. Lame. Oh, I think I moved all my... I screwed everything up. I wasn't following the road lines. I'm gonna lose. We could drive for Bastogne. But again, I think I'm gonna run into the same problem. Yep. Ooh, we got some new units. One unit may cross a river, boundary an enemy occupied, space per turn. Shit. Pardon my language. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? How do we do this? Yeah, no. But what we could do, we could drive these guys south. There's no roof there. Now we get as close to the Meuse. And the armor unit can break through. So over there. Although I'm not sure if that's wise, but they can. So we'll see what the Allies do. They probably will counterattack or something. We're only one hex from the Meuse now. See, what I don't understand is there's a bridge here. Why can we only move... Fight that battle. We're probably not going to get a great result. We did influence one. We got a lot more combat power, so it was 1-to-1. Should at least pin them in place. Oh shit, did they just cut us off? What just happened? Supplies. Oh no, they cut off a whole bunch of our troops. Okay. But that's okay, because we can just move these guys here. If that's what we want to do. The other option, moving north. Commit. Come on, hit him. No! Well, that was a disastrous fight. So our troops are cut off and surrounded, very close to the Liege. But I don't know if we can get there in time. 101st just arrived, 82nd Airborne just arrived. Why can't we move in here? Should relieve the supply situation. Gets our troops back in supply. Yep, okay. So our troops are all back in supply. And now we have no forces that can really get to the Meuse. So we got one hex away. We're going to fall short, probably. Lame. See, I don't like that. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't see the problem is I don't think any of these units are going to be able to attack again. And I'm just kind of throwing the game away at this point. Okay. So yeah, I can't get to where I need to get to. Because everyone can only move once per turn. It does look like they can move. Can these guys move? Why can't I move more troops into Lombardy? Or Malmedy? But I can move those guys. That's weird. Do what damage we can to the enemy while we can. And we lose. Access lost. Enemy defense holds the Meuse. Okay. So obviously this is a game that takes a little bit of figuring out. And this is really just a first attempt, first impressions. It's a fun little game. It's easy to move things around, easy to kind of get the concepts of the game. But feels like a game that would be very difficult to master. I may revisit this and take a look at it again in the future, but I just wanted to kind of show you guys what this looked like. It's a new game out, again, on Steam. It's $8.99, I believe, $9.99 normal retail. It's on sale for $8.99 at launch. And hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you'd like to see more. Didn't have a whole lot of time to do a ton of research into the actual battle to talk about history like I normally do. But again, hope you enjoyed the first impressions or look at the game. And until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching, and I'm out.